Hello, my name is Jake Fry. For this presentation, the terrorist group that I chose was the Taliban. I apologize that at any point in this presentation I mispronounce or stumble upon or over any of the vocabulary words associated with the Taliban. They are pretty hard to pronounce. So, it is in my opinion that they have made the largest impact on the United States in the form of terrorism. The Taliban refers to themselves as the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. They began a political movement in Afghanistan to fight a war against the government of their country. The founder of the Taliban, Muhammad Omar, was the leader of the group from 1994 to 2013. The Taliban structure is based on both political and religious factors. Most people believe that the Taliban first appeared in religious ceremonies because they were receiving money from Saudi Arabia to restore security and peace in Afghanistan by enforcing their version of Islamic law. The Taliban became more stern as time went on. The Taliban has a long history of causing chaos in the Middle East, dating back to when they were first formed in 1994. The word Taliban means student in Pashto, formed because a majority of original members studied in Madras religious schools in Pakistan. Other members of the Taliban come from the Mujahideen, which were Islamic fighters who won the war against the Soviet military invasion in the 1980s in Afghanistan. After the formation of the Taliban, many areas of Afghanistan fell mercy to the Islamic law enforced by group members, causing many deaths and injuries. The women were brutally beaten and then displayed for all village members to see what will happen if they do not follow Islamic law. The Taliban refers to themselves as the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan after the fall of Kabul in 1996. They began ruling in Afghanistan. The insurgents of Sunni Islamic movement started to enforce Islamic law to the locals. A political view of the Taliban is to restore Islamic State in Afghanistan and will kill anyone who cooperates with Western troops or the new government led by President Muhammad Karzai. A large majority of the Taliban members stay in the southeastern part of Afghanistan because it is one of the world's largest opium distributors. The views of Islamic laws are primarily targeted towards women. They are required to wear head-to-toe covers. They cannot go to work or attend school outside the house, travel unaccompanied, or celebrate non-Islamic holidays. Other rules include girls that reach the age of 10 are no longer allowed to go to school, nor are they allowed to watch music or listen to music or watch television. The Taliban gained a relationship with Osama bin Laden, who was one of the most feared terrorists at the time, to help restore Islamic law in the country. He then moved to the city of Kandahar. The Taliban viewed the changes made in Afghanistan by Western governments as corruption and would often kill elderly village members to warn the others of the consequences that would happen for working with spies or government collaborators. Afghanistan was at the mercy of the Taliban in 1996 until late 2001. When American troops invaded to overthrow their power because of the attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001. Many of the members fled to the Pakistan border, but had not given up the fight to take back the ruling over Afghanistan and make it the new Islamic State. The Taliban during the 1990s disbelieved in any Western technology. Examples of this included them beating taxicab drivers for playing music on cassette tapes. However, that all changed after 2001 when the U.S. military defeated them on their own soil. the Taliban started to utilize technology for their attacks. Cell phones were used for detonators for explosives, and camcorders to videotape the deaths of Americans. The Taliban has a long history of causing chaos and destruction targeted towards Western civilizations, including the United States. The Taliban has a strong belief to follow Islamic law, causing for controversy in Afghanistan and other Middle Eastern countries that converted to Western-style beliefs and freedoms. The United States primarily stayed out of the 100-year battle in the Middle East until our nation became subject to terrorist behavior. Since the attacks that occurred on September 11th, although the attacks were performed by Al-Qaeda insurgents, the United States countered the attacks by sending troops to Afghanistan, calling it Operation Enduring Freedom, which forced the Taliban to retreat into hiding. Since the initial invasion, the Taliban has been hiding and fighting American troops from the rural deserts of Afghanistan. The war between American troops and the Taliban has been everlasting since the beginning, with many soldiers losing their lives in combat. A U.S. airstrike killed the senior leader of the Taliban, Mullah Akhtar Muhammad Asami, in December of 2006, which made a huge shift in the war because the Taliban insurgents went into hiding. The United States, since the horrendous attacks in 2001, have improved and developed many legislative laws regarding safety that includes airport security and the contents allowed on a plane, and the usage of the U.S. Patriot Act that was established to monitor the internet for terrorist threats. The Patriot Act was developed to oversee the nation's communication channels in search of any terrorists that may be residing in the United States. The Taliban has an enormous emotional, psychological, and economical impact on the citizens of the United States because they live in fear of terrorism. Our country endured one of the biggest economical recessions of all time during 2007 to 2009, and some aspects of our nation never recovered from that. The recession was due to all the funds that were being spent fighting the war against terrorism in the Middle East. Rather, that was with Operation Iraqi Freedom or Operation Enduring Freedom. The war against the Taliban has not ended still to this day. In April of 2017, the United States dropped one of the most powerful non-nuclear bombs on a suspected Islamic State militia's cave in the Nangarhar province, where the Taliban controlled more than a third of the country. The United States does not negotiate or show sympathy to acts of terrorism. The penalty of being found of terrorism consists of life imprisonment, or the death penalty, or a minimum of 20 years in a federal penitentiary. The Taliban is a very disgruntled terrorist organization, especially against the United States. So for my visual part of this presentation, I have a few flags that show very symbolic representation to the Taliban. So from September 27th, 1995 to October 26th, 1997, the Taliban flew a white flag. However, in 1997, the Taliban introduced the Shadini on the white flag, which is this here. This is what their flag represented. Now, after American troops entered and defeated the Taliban in 2001, Afghanistan returned to their traditional black, red, and green colors, which is this flag here, which in a way is very symbolic for the country of Afghanistan because it shows their independence against the Taliban and their resistance against terrorist behavior. So that is all on my presentation. Thank you.